I found myself sitting in a swimming pool on national TV at breakfast time, being interviewed by Chris Evans. And this day, when I went down to the workshop, something weird was happening. It didn't look like a finesse design, but my God, two things happened. And the first thing that happened was So, having got into St Martin's, you have to pass each year to make it to the next year. So on the second year of the course, I designed lots of products, but I'd done none of the technical support work, like brief writing or the essay elements of it. I'd just done the products. And so basically I got to the end of the 2 years and I'd failed. I'd been called into the office and they said, look, you failed the year. You haven't completed what needs to be done. You really need to go and rework your portfolio and you need to submit it in the next 2 weeks to get to the third year. It was like terrifying that I was going to get chucked off the course. So all I could hear was, you've got to represent your portfolio. You've got to represent your portfolio. I was like, Jesus. My first default was to go back down to the woodwork shop because I had a good relationship there. I'd made a lot of my model making was centered around wood carving and spraying up models and stuff like that. And this day, when I went down to the workshop, something weird was happening. In the workshop was someone from the sculpture course with a bundle of fluorescent orange plastic, like doing something with it. So immediately I just went over and I was curious. I was like, what the hell, what's going on? We're in the woodwork shop. It's all dust and shit. And he was making an inflatable sculpture. I was like, what the fuck? And then I could see what he was doing. He was like pushing a lever and this thing was coming down, and where it came down on the plastic, it joined the plastic together. Nothing moved, it just joined the plastic. And I was like, wow, this is how you make an inflatable. You lay two bits of plastic together and you join them together. It's like magic. I was like, it's a bit mysterious. I thought it was really, really odd. It bounced around in my head. I was very fascinated by the fluorescent orange material. And I was like, they've asked me to represent my portfolio. I'm going to put my work in my portfolio. And I thought, this portfolio is going to be inflatable, but it's not just going to be inflatable. It's going to be a bright orange inflatable portfolio. I'm going to have these blue valves and, that's what it's going to be. And then I'm going to put my work in it. I just sketched the shape of a portfolio, like the single worst design you've ever seen. But that's what I sketched up, and I welded it with no idea what it was going to be. I got some rope and some rubber handles from the boating industry because I was being quite literal. I was going inflatable, sea, nautical, so the whole thing. Anyway, I blew it up. It didn't look like a finesse design, but my God, two things happened. And the first thing that happened was when I blew it up and put all my work in it, everyone on my course was blown away. Like, oh my God, like I'd actually created a whole new product. I'd kind of subverted what inflatables were and taken them from being, even though I had this nautical thing going on in my head, it was still just a bag. It was an inflatable bag. It wasn't sprayed up. It wasn't pretend. It was inflatable. But the work taken to go through the process to make this inflatable used up an entire 2 weeks of my time. I hadn't done any of the work that was asked of me. All I'd done is make an inflatable portfolio. So when I went back in to present my portfolio, it was an all or nothing. Will they be blown away by the portfolio and allow me to stay? Or are they going to open the portfolio and realize I've done fuck all work? So I went into the room, I put the portfolio down, I said, here's my portfolio I've come to represent. And they were blown away. They were like, this is mental, and genuinely, they didn't open the portfolio. The whole conversation pivoted to a discussion, and then, I'm trying to remember, but the essence of the discussion was about why we design, how we go through design, what it's about. And it was a short meeting, but the portfolio wasn't open, and I was accepted to stay on the course for another year. When you're at college, you kind of either appeal to your contemporaries or you appeal to the system being the college. Here, I felt I'd straddled the two. I'd managed to create the sex and violence and the excitement of the corridor, and I'd taken it into the authorities, and they'd loved it as well. And I thought, wow, this fusion of satisfaction must have something to it, something that needs to be developed more. And that set the next thing in my head, this like, can we straddle these things? Can we create products that are, challenging and exciting, yet desirable, and people want them? I will say that the success of that inflatable portfolio was followed by two of the crappiest projects I'd ever done in my life. So I learned a valuable lesson there, which was don't get fucking carried away in the glory of one product success. You're only as good as your next project. And that's really, really important. The journey at St. Martin's was really, was exciting, challenging at times. But then we come to the next pivotal bit, which I'd never considered in my life, was who's going to go to the Royal College. For the application to the Royal College, I built Inflatable Portfolio Mark II. I refined it a bit more, tightened it up. I designed the inner sleeves. So I basically created the whole thing as a product, and I photographed all of the projects that I thought were worthy. And in true Nick Crosbie style, I added a few of my own projects in because I thought the balance was wrong. Luckily, I got an interview to go there, and I wanted to leave them a business card, and I didn't have a business card. So I went down to the letterpress department, and I got all the letterpress pieces that would make up my name and my telephone number, and I vacuum formed them, and I created a mold, and then I melted chocolate, and I poured the chocolate in, and I made a series of cast chocolate business cards. So when I went for my interview, I took with me a little Tupperware tub with all my business cards in. So I went in for the interview, we went through the portfolio, and they seemed to like everything, and we had a good chat. It was actually just very nice, very relaxing. I thought I was going to get grilled on lots of technical stuff, but they, clearly just getting to know you as a character. But what the bit I knew is when I left, and this is how you know how to please anyone in an interview. When I left, I gave them all my chocolate business cards, and they ate them all really quickly. And I was like, no, but they've got my phone number on. That's how you get me. If you want to work with me, you need. Well, they ate them all, and they were very happy. Anyway, I got into the Royal College, and so I was on another high. I was like, right, okay, this is cool. I'm now going to do a master's degree in industrial design. When I got into St. Martin's, I had this preconceived idea that I was going to be spoon-fed how to be an industrial designer. I learned very quickly that when you go, if what you want in life, you have to go and get. And I realized very quickly that the college offered loads of facilities, but you've got to make the most of it. And so it's really in my head. And so when I got accepted to the Royal College, I was thinking to myself, what am I wanting from this? What is that bit that I'm looking for now? And then the other bit, which I think is really important, and this is for future designers that are studying, when I got into the Royal College, the letter that you get sent kind of starts with congratulations or something. It's a very short letter, a few sentences, so saying, well, thank you, congratulations, you've been accepted to the Royal College, blah, blah, blah. A few years later, I ended up teaching at the Royal College for a while. And one of the things that really dawned on me from the other side as a teacher was, I don't think that first letter that the Royal College sends out should say congratulations on it. It should say something like, commiserations, we've decided that you're not actually a very good designer, but we see huge potential. And if you join us, we could help you unleash the potential from inside you. Because, as I was saying, when I did the portfolio project, I got ahead of myself and then did 2 crap projects. When you're learning, if you get ahead of yourself, you think you've got into somewhere, you've been accepted. The prize isn't acceptance. The prize is what you do with it. And I knew this intrinsically. I knew when I went to the Royal College, I want to do something with these next 2 years. I need to go here and challenge myself. I need to be looking for who I can become. coming back, I'm still at St Martin's. I've still got my major project to do. Floating in the ether somewhere is this thing called Inflate. I've made an inflatable portfolio. That was kind of cool. What could we do with that? But I've still got my major show to do. And I decided to design a television. It's like, that is the product that everybody has and everybody looks at all the time. So I decided to design a television, but I wanted to segue in Inflate. And so what I did is I designed a waterproof floating television. And that was my way of kind of pulling the things together. And I called the television Inflate. And while I was working on the television, this is where I got introduced again to the next industrial designer that I met, which was Ron Arid, who was in the book. So I went up to Ron's studio in Camden and met him. I was absolutely petrified of meeting like a designer that was world famous. I'd go up there for my mentoring session and literally just want to be in the studio. I just want to be there. I was like, this is so cool. So I was in there, but I do remember a couple of bits of advice he gave. And I do know, sorry, Ron, all the bits of advice he gave, I just hated. But in hindsight, they were brilliant. Because at the time, I was so fixated on being this kind of hybrid graphic designer, product designer, and I didn't know who I was. I couldn't understand the advice I was being given, and he was giving very cool advice on what I should do and how I should pursue it. Anyway, so I did the project, we did the show. It was super exciting. I built a big fish tank in the show and put the TV in and everything else. And then something mental happened. This was like 1993, and The Big Breakfast was really big on television at the time with Paula Yates and Chris Evans. And somebody saw my television at the Degree show and thought it would be a cool product to put on a slot they had called Invention Corner. So that summer, I found myself sitting in a swimming pool on national TV at breakfast time, being interviewed by Chris Evans, floating around with my waterproof floating television, trying to pretend to anyone that was watching that this was genuinely a serious proposition of a design product for the future. And so I always say we, it was me, I'm a little machine. I went as me as my machine through that summer, had that great experience, and went off to the Royal College. And this is where a couple of bits really, really happen. And so the kind of end of that era ends and the RCA begins. Let's pause.